These are the facts, not put out by mainstream media. If you want to know the truth, we put out the truth every single day, Monday to Friday. Saturdays and Sundays, we spend with our families, as we should do. So if you want to know the truth, come to 𝕯𝖊𝖚𝖘 and see real news daily. And join the Insiders Club, which is live on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Noble Gold for those that are based in America and Canada. And for those in the UK and Europe, we have Orvesta. Get yours now. charlies.gold. Hello, Dylan.
Hello. How is everybody?
Good, thank you. And you?
Doing very well.
I tell you what, today is going to be one hell of a show. And the reason I say that, for anybody that doesn't know Dylan, Dylan has put a huge amount of work and effort into working out who does what, who says what, who's linked to what, and what have you. And has got some of the most incredible maps that map out who's linked to who's linked to who's linked. I mean, just to give you an idea, that's 2 of Dylan's maps. And he's got loads of them. And you can find them on Dylan's webpage. Dylan Louis Monroe, is it?
Well, now it's just dsmp.io. It was
that's even better.
deepstateMappingProject.com before, but we shortened it down to just dsmp.io.
All right, so Drew, if you can put that in the chat so that everyone can know exactly where that is. I'm going to start today's show. If I wind back the clock 6 years ago, I did a video with a friend of mine called Jack Kidd. And it was introducing the world to Nasara, Jasara. And there were those of you, most of you, who believed it and understood it. But there was an awful lot of doubters out there, especially when we talked about forgiving credit card debt, forgiving mortgages, forgiving other bank debt. There was a lot of doubters out there. Abolishing the IRS, return to constitutional law, the monitoring of elections, the creation of a new US Treasury currency, eliminates the Federal Reserve, restores financial privacy, so many different things. And a lot of people, well, today, I'm going to share with the insiders. And by the way, Dylan has done hours, hundreds, if not thousands of hours of research into this, along with many other subjects. But today I'm going to share with you where you can find the hard evidence of Nasara Jasara being fully implemented by acts that have been passed. If I can bring it up, I've got it here somewhere. Here we go. There's actually 24 pages. So I'm not going to go through it because it'll blow your mind. Drew is going to share it so that you can go through it in your own time. But all the bills that have been passed in Congress to allow Nasara and Jasara to be fully enacted and fully operational today are going to be available to you. For those that were in the chat earlier, it was in there as well. There is literally 24 pages of hard work there. And for those who remember Tara Dean, she was commissioned to do it, and she did an amazing job in getting everything out there. And this is all to help you, not to wake you up, but to give you the ammunition to bash the idiots over the head with. Because the people out there some are just ridiculous, but This is just hard evidence that sadly, you can show people the truth completely blind, which tells you they're not really blind, they're dumb. And they probably drive a Tesla. And that's why the EMFs have screwed up their heads so much they don't even know what they're thinking about. But anyway, that's enough about the Nasara Jasara document that Drew is sharing. And it'll also be in the back office for the insiders to, if they are unable to download it now. I've shared it with Drew in PDF and Word with everything in there that you will need to know. So that when people go, well, what about this? What about that? What about the other? It's all there. Now, that's basically, I say 24 pages. Dylan will probably have 1,000,000 pages. But I'm going to hand over to Dylan because what Dylan has done, nobody can hold a candle to. Because he's basically created diagrams that show you visually how everybody is linked together. And it's incredible. So I'm going to hand over to Dylan because I have no idea what he's going to tell you today. That's why I love having people on the show like Dylan, because he'll have done something new since I last saw him, because he doesn't stop. So where are we at, Dylan?
That is true, Charlie. It's almost Providence you invited me on at this time. We planned this even a few months in advance, and that's even more providential because I actually just finished a new diagram, which the inspiration came to me at your last expo at Trump Doral. The new one is about sovereignty, and you had several speakers speaking about sovereignty at that expo. And even before that expo, I was planning to do a diagram about sovereignty, but all the speakers at the expo really kicked off my imagination, and I actually got a download for the basic premise of it when I was at your expo speaking to Shad Douglas in the bar after hours. And so I'll talk about that some, but since you kicked this off with GESARA, as you can see, I do have my GESARA map here behind me. It's actually still one of my favorites just because I like things that are futuristic. I like the color scheme a lot. It's very bright. And like you mentioned, there are a lot of documented evidence that these ideas are coming to fruition slowly. Like the GESARA map for me, it was more of a theoretical one. It's not like we have complete concrete proof that like this is the plan, like this is exactly what's going to happen, because we're talking about the future here, but we're making very educated speculations about the future, based in reality, not based in fantasy. Based in, I would say, an optimistic reality. We know our financial system is corrupted. We know all the world's currencies are going into endless inflation. If we want to have any future, something needs to be done, a financial reset, as we call it. And so we would hope if there is good people controlling things on a high level, that they would have some kind of a plan that would benefit humanity. And so this is the GESARA map that I created, is sort of all the evidence we have of what we think that plan may be. And the biggest piece of circumstantial evidence that actually kicked off the diagram in the beginning, I made this in 2022, so this is becoming almost one of the older ones at this point, which is kind of shocking to me because 2022 feels like yesterday, and all this information has barely changed since then, aside from promoting a few of the different influencers in the crypto space. But the news piece that actually kicked off me doing the GESARA map was when it was announced that Russia was going back to a gold and silver-backed currency. And so then I had already heard all the theories about Nasara, GESARA, and when they went to the gold-backed currency, I was just thinking, it's going to happen eventually in the USA. And that's one of the big things that I think we're waiting for to hear Trump speak about more, especially in this second term, is how he's going to save, our USD, the Federal Reserve, or maybe not save the Federal Reserve, maybe fold it into the Treasury. But my GESARA infographic also, I'm very eager to explore that PDF that you just uploaded to see what other data is in there, if there's anything that I missed, because I'm sure there are some things that I missed. But my infographic makes reference to several specific legislation pieces and executive orders that are relevant to Nasara Jasara. One of the main ones being the HR 748 CARES Act, which during Trump's first term merged the Fed with the Treasury. So that was a big one. That was like one of the main bullet points here. It's actually connected to Article 13 of the original Nasara plan, which there's debate whether the original Nasara plan was even real or not, but it's like we're taking this set of, 20 different articles or, bullet points of a theoretical Nasara plan and sort of applying them on a global scale. And of course, it may be applied slightly differently in different countries, but it's like the general ideas of tax relief, which is also called a jubilee, which has happened in history, even though none of us have experienced it in our lifetimes. It's not something that has never happened before, as well as different currency resets, moving a currency from being gold back to pure fiat, which is what happened in the 1970s. And of course, if that can be done, we can always go back. And so that's really what we're expecting. And some countries already have gone back to that asset-based currency. And of course, it also doesn't necessarily just have to be a gold or silver-backed currency. It could be other asset-backed currencies like oil, precious metals, minerals. One other legislation or executive order that's mentioned on here is, numbers are really tiny for me to read. I'm holding the handheld version here. We sell it as a poster and as a handheld version. But the National Quantum Initiative Advisory Committee that was passed, that's looking into ways that we can have both probably quantum financial system as well as quantum voting. And then mentioned on here, I'm not sure if there is an executive order number mentioned here. Nobody really cares the actual number, but there was also executive orders during the first term about AI and, developing like eventually quantum sentient AI, general AI, which we've really seen the second term be very much about AI. So much so that it's actually been a little bit worrying for some people, a little bit too much AI. But I think that used correctly, AI could really benefit all of us, as well as blockchain technology. And of course, one of the big premises of the GESARA map was the cryptocurrency aspect, or prefer to call it digital asset aspect of potential Nasara Jasara related to the ISO 20022 coins, which are listed up in like the upper right section of the map. Of course, everybody's favorites here known so well: XRP, XLM, Algorand, IOTA, XDC, and a lot of people are now adding in like HBAR to that mix. So I have a couple other, when I knew you wanted to talk about Jasara, I pulled up all the relevant images. So can I do a little screen share here for you?
Of course you can.
All right. Let me make sure this is looking good. Well, so that's the Jasara map on a wall. Mm-hmm. One of the most exciting things during the second term related to this subject was this tweet by Donald Trump. Now, I believe this was around 1 year ago. You probably discussed this on your channel as I did on mine, but it's always worth reminding people. This tweet on the bottom is the one that came out first. And this is actually also the very first time that Donald Trump ever mentioned XRP, which was very exciting. Yeah. So he's talking about we're going to have this crypto reserve, and just conveniently drops a list of XRP, Solana, and Cardano as the first three he mentions, and does not even mention Bitcoin or Ethereum in this first tweet. Follows that up, looks to be possibly like 58 minutes later. I'm not sure exactly the time cap here, but then he said, and obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum and other valued cryptocurrencies. So I just keep going back to that. We know Donald Trump puts encoded messages in his tweets. We know usually his mistakes are not really mistakes. And this is one of the most blatantly obvious ones. I mean, to put XRP first here when, technically, I think at this time it was like the fourth biggest market cap currency, is a pretty big statement for XRP. Now, even more recently, I'm not sure if you've discussed this, but Bitcoin and XRP and XLM appeared in the Epstein files. And correct. David Schwartz reposted this email from Epstein talking about how, let's see, this is a two Epstein email, so we've got to keep in mind it's two Epstein. But still, some Austin Hill is emailing Epstein saying that they're worried about Ripple and Stellar because both those blockchains are bad for the ecosystem. We are creating or building, and it does our company damage to have investors who are backing two horses in the same race. So to me, I mean, Bitcoin maxis do get on my nerves, but I don't want to see Bitcoin fail, but I do want to see XRP as the number one cryptocurrency. And so for me, this is extremely bullish for XRP, even though something like this may cause extreme market volatility. I mean, this is the kind of thing, and other things what I'm about to show you in the Epstein emails is exactly the kind of thing that could drive BTC to zero. And of course, the whole crypto market is following BTC. So if Bitcoin goes to zero, we can expect volatility in XRP. But those of us who have really researched XRP and XLM know that there is very good technical use cases for these things, and that they're being adopted by all these different banks and international bodies, that even if they have a giant dip, if they go like even into the cent range, if Bitcoin goes to zero, that we are expecting these to rebound massively. However, not to give financial advice, but as we just seen just 2 days ago with Coinbase freezing people's accounts during a big volatility moment, it's a better idea to just hold these things through these volatile periods, as opposed to be trying to sell every peak and buy every dip. Because with the volatility we're expecting, at some point it may not be possible to buy the dip due to the short period of it or the volatility. So, I've been advising people just ever since 2022 to put your XRP in a cold wallets. And the Epstein confirmations continue here with. Have you already talked about this kind of thing with your insiders, Charlie?
I've avoided talking about XRP for one simple reason, Dylan, that 6 years ago when we started this, I'd never even heard of XRP. And I have to word this carefully, one of the top people, let's just call it that, said to me, do yourself a favor and buy yourself 500 XRP and then put them away and forget about them. And you will never ever need to spend them, but that will be the security you need for the future. He said, you won't need any more than that. That's more than enough. And I said, is that Bitcoin? He's gone, no, don't touch Bitcoin. That was his words. Don't touch Bitcoin. XRP. And I said, is that blockchain? And his words were then, it's not blockchain, it's DLT, which is faster, a lot faster. But to me, he was talking to somebody. He might as well been talking in Japanese, because it wasn't a language I understood anything about. And on purpose, I've kept myself quite well away from it, because I'm 65 years old and I have this passion, if you like, for gold and silver. Because for the last 100 years, it's been the safest place to put your money when the world is collapsing. The money that I put into XRP, XLM, XDC, Solana, etc., without being crass or rude, was money that I could afford to lose if it went wrong. It wasn't a lot of money. It was under £1,000 in those days, 6 years ago. Today, that £1,000 is worth about 50,000. But I'm still not touching it. It's just sat there. I think XRP, when I bought it, was 23 or 27 cents, something like that. And I've just been told to sit on it. And when I actually asked somebody the other day about XRP, thank you, Alex, distributed ledger technology, that's what DLT is. I was told you'll never need to touch your digital currency. You will have it there, and they will you will be offered an income from it monthly that you can take. If you need a large chunk for a house, their words were, you can use this as security, because if you pay for it over a period of time, because you're providing the security, you'll have the money interest free. and you won't tie up your capital unnecessarily. So you can use it to pay for it, and you can pay it back over a period of time because you're supplying the security. They're not supplying the security. You are. So you will have an administration fee and not an interest fee. And that takes away from usury. And of course, usury is not looked on with favor in the Bible. So that I've sort of steered clear of all the digital stuff purely because I don't know it and I've got way too much on my plate. Just to give, I know you work ridiculously long hours, but I set my alarm for sort of 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in my office by 4 a.m. and I finish my day at 9, 10 o'clock at night. And most of that time is research. And I've been doing that for 6 years. And with what I see that you've achieved, you won't be far behind me on the amount of hours you put into your work. If not, probably putting in more hours.
I go pretty much till I drop, yeah. And you never
Yeah,
know the
exactly.
hours. This winter, it's like whether it's day or night, it's like I don't even know. I'm just work till I drop pretty much.
Yeah, same.
Well, gold and silver is definitely the more reliable investment, and that goes right in hand with the whole GESARA Nasara theory as
Yeah.
well. And of course, we've seen the gold and silver skyrocketing just since November 2025, which has been amazing to see. This is what I thought we were going to see back in 2021. And so, as right-wing nut job conspiracy theorists, it's great to see those investments and that advice we received. But every right wing broadcast is having like Noble Gold as a sponsor, it seems. So we have received a heads up on that one big time. And
Hmm.
even the heads up we received on the cryptocurrencies, like we saw a very big XRP spike before the election, or the day of the election in 2024. And then we saw another big spike in the middle of the summer 2025. And while there has been volatility, that whole year of gains has almost been erased at this point. I think in the long term, our research and our dedication to this positive future timeline is going to be vindicated in a lot of
Hmm.
different ways.
Hmm.
So, do you mind if I just finish sharing a few more images here on the
Yeah, sure,
subject?
please.
Well, so the Epstein emails continued speaking about Epstein essentially. I don't know if you say hired. I haven't read this in detail, but it's inferring that Epstein put Gary Gensler up to the lawsuit that XRP suffered between 2020 and still it's like being downgraded in stages, this lawsuit, but it's essentially resolved at this point. And so it's essentially saying that Gary Gensler was like an attack dog working for Epstein, who works for, he has said in his emails, the Rothschilds ultimately, to attack XRP and XLM. And now, of course, this could all be white hat staging as well. Staging this attack on XRP by apparently the dark hats to suppress it just long enough
Hmm.
to make an impact. But either way, it's like this has been like an artificial suppression that is on the surface level deep state coordinated. And
Yeah.
now this is one of my favorite ones. Now I should go into the files and double check this, but this email is from 2008 from Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine, the Satoshi pseudonym worked perfectly. Our little digital gold mine is ready for the world. Funding secured. So in the ISO 20022 community, we refer to Bitcoin as one of two things. One of them being baby trafficking coin,
Hmm.
and in the beginning, I thought that might have been a little bit of an exaggeration, a little bit of like a defamation. But the way this is looking, that may actually be the most accurate acronym decode for BTC, is baby trafficking coin. On the
Hmm.
GESARA map, it's actually referred to as Khazar coin, which I think is also pretty accurate, given this evidence of Epstein's involvement in the founding. And the more mainstream acronym decode is beta test coin, with XRP being the real deal coin. So we have a couple other little hints in the crypto side of GESARA that have come up just very recently as of last week. I haven't even discussed this on my channel, but last week we saw Trump in front of his 𝕯𝖊𝖚𝖘 banner talking about the new website he's created for cheap prescription drugs. And people noticed that, you know, essentially what you see here, that you're basically looking at a reverse image of XRP Go. And of course, Go is in forward, but XRP is in reverse. But still, it's like either way, you're seeing XRP there right behind him. And if you drop off the V on Gov, it's XRP Go. And so it's like, the fun thing about XRP is people are always doing decodes and finding these little hints. And, you know, there's riddles, which I'm going to just briefly show a few of those as well. This is another one related to the TrumpRx.gov. Is they're using this gold eagle, which some people are saying looks a lot like the phoenix, which people talk about the phoenix in relation to XRP symbolism as like the cryptocurrency that will rise from the ashes of the big crash. And I should mention that like the crash is another aspect of the GESARA theory that's quite important. I kind of downplayed it on the GESARA map because it's supposed to be more about the positive future. But the whole idea here is that it's actually right here on the infographic, which this infographic's not necessarily in chronological order from top to bottom or anything, but the crash would obviously precede the GESARA. You know, there's theoretically would be a crash of markets, currencies, possibly all at the same time, which would be remedied by introducing some of these ISO 20022 coins like XRP as liquidity that's much needed to restore the global economy. At the same time, converting our currency from a fiat currency to an asset-backed currency, a gold-backed currency, much like the way Russia and other countries have already done. And so, like I said, expecting a little volatility, but you know, we're as these deep researchers that we are, we're expecting to essentially know what's going to come out on top of the volatility and what's going to go permanently to zero, as Brad Garlinghouse has said about other cryptos that it would go to zero. And so I just want to lastly show a few images of. So there, I don't know, we probably haven't talked about this because this is like pretty wacky XRP theory, but there is an account on Twitter called the Bearable Guy who posts these visual riddles that, I mean, I just find them like both hilarious and fascinating to attempt to decode. This is the one that's getting the most attention of like this knight approaching a castle with XRP, BTC, and USD flags coming out of it. And there's all kinds of symbolism here that people have picked up on. Some people have said that Trump showed like the key in this, what do you even call this? Like a visual, I want to call it an infographic, but it's more just like a cartoon. Some say the key was the same key that he had in his FIFA trophy that he had in his office for so long. You know, other people have picked up on different things. But it's like the Fed chairman like surrendering. People trying to figure out what these green books are. And I've gone through some of this symbolism, like when people think they figure out what something is, but it's like you never really know if you figured it out or not. But the most recent one is this one, where this little bear is actually on the moon. There's also been, throughout the sequence of these different riddles, a countdown going on with his teeth. And in this most recent one, he's down to one tooth poking out, which some people are saying this is like a countdown, like 3, 2, 1. And then he flips the switch. XRP goes to the moon, and his beam is obviously already on the moon. Nobody knows what's in these giant ring boxes, but you got the 589. So there's just a lot to look into here. I mean, you can make a whole video just decoding one of these little cartoons, and this is the last one with some of these black books floating in the ocean. And actually, let's see, I had another image in my Jerky folder here. If you want to look at these black books, oh, I don't know if I'm going to find it, but anyways, I'll just end the share for now. But on CNN.com last week, when the Epstein files hadn't been completely covered up by this story about a news reporter's mother being kidnapped, CNN's homepage actually had an image of Epstein files that every single one was fully blacked out, and it actually quite resembled those like black books in some of those cartoons. So it's just like, it's fun to try to figure out. It's kind of like QAnon. It's like a mystery. It's a riddle. If you're really intelligent, you can try to figure these things out. It's the kind of thing that NPCs like just goes completely over their head. Like they wouldn't even take the time to be like, I'd rather watch TV. But it's like if you really want to figure out what's the future of the financial system, we think there may be some of these hints being dropped. And so it's all pretty exciting, I think, to be like on the cutting edge of this information.
One of the most interesting facts that I think is it's naughty but funny is every single document that's been redacted in the Epstein files. If you download them and you copy and paste them, when you paste them, they come unredacted. So you can actually see what's there. And this has been done on purpose for those people who are inquisitive to find out names. They've on purpose been put there. But what it does do, it defines those people that are bone idle and lazy, and those are a bit like Dylan and I, are nosy little buggers who want to know what's really going on. And we're willing to have a look. So if you get the document and either download it into Word, or even if you've got the ability with Adobe in PDF to copy and paste what's in there, you will find out what's underneath the black. It has not been secured on purpose. So, and there's a lot of people out there who've been exposing so many things there. It's all of this information there is what we try and share with our insiders so that you can look at these places. And this is why I've released this document today about Nasara and Jasara. I've known 100%, because of who told me, about Nasara and Jasara for 6 years. I didn't know how it would be integrated. I didn't know how it would come about. But as I've said many times, I've known the destination, just didn't know the journey. And I'll be honest with you, I've enjoyed the journey. And I did a little short video the other day to remind you the satisfaction you get out of solving a problem. And yet we pray for a life without problems. So you might as well pray for a life without satisfaction. Because if you get a problem in life and you resolve it, it's the best feeling in the world. You feel really like you've achieved something. When I first heard about the redacted documents that you could copy and paste them, I actually went and tried. And boy, oh boy, I just wish there wasn't 6 million pages to do it to. Because where do you start? But then when you put it out there, you just sit there and smile. Because you know that it wasn't a mistake. It was there for people that are awake. And if you're awake, you're looking. If you're asleep, you're not looking. So there's so much that has gone. People are just quickly asking about Paul. Paul's taken a different direction, but he's doing really, really well. And we wish him all the very, very best. We get on fine. He's just chosen a different direction. That's fine. He specializes in digital currency. That's his forte. So he's focusing on that. And I admire people who focus on what they do, like Dylan does. He focuses on joining up the dots. There are people out there that do things that you and I can't do, and Dylan is one of those. There are so many people in specific fields that we need that have the expertise, and also God doesn't give the same message to Dylan that he gives to me, because Dylan's receptors and my receptors are different. God knows what Dylan can absorb. God knows what Charlie can absorb. God knows what you can absorb. Each and every one. And thank God we're not all absorbing the same thing. Otherwise, we'd be standing on each other's feet. So it's wonderful that we've got such an array. One of my favorite other people that's doing some amazing work right now is Whitney Webb. Whitney has exposed all of the blackmailing that's gone on within the governments by Israel. And it all comes back to the same place. The blackmailing comes from one place. And all of this evidence that we've been telling you about is there in the Epstein files. And it's so funny that the minute you mention that Epstein is an Israeli or a Mossad agent, no. He comes through, he works for Russia. I mean, that playbook has been so well run, you can't believe that they haven't even thought of a new one. They're still using the same old rubbish that everybody's awake to. And now they're getting desperate. They're getting super desperate. But Epstein quite clear, and we've seen in the last week pictures of Epstein alive and well in Israel. Next, I suppose, we'll see him in McDonald's with Ghislaine Maxwell having a Happy Meal. I mean, this is how crazy the movie's getting. If you can't wake up to that, you wake up to nothing. But there's so much going on right now that's in plain sight for you to see. And there's, as it says in the Bible, he that has an ear, let him hear. And that goes for each and every one, myself included, that when keep your ears open, because God is talking to us all the time right now. And when God talks to you, the first thing that disappears is fear. So if you've got fear in your life, buy yourself some cotton buds, clean out your ears. Dylan.
Well, I too had been to the Department of Justice.gov site and tried to look in the Epstein files myself. And all I was finding was like dinners at 7, tickets for the play tonight. It was like, with that many files, it's hard to find the juicy ones. And so, you wonder like, who's actually going to find the good stuff? I even tried asking AI because I was trying to make a video last week and I was like asking Grok to like find me the dirt, in these files, and Grok couldn't help me either. But what's interesting is who actually finds these things. And I honestly don't think it's organic. When
No.
last week, or actually maybe it was even it's Saturday, so it's hard to say which week it is, but like last Monday, a YouTuber account named 𝕯𝖚𝖚𝖑𝖙 seemed to really find, I don't want to call it the gold in the Epstein files, but the type of thing that people would be most concerned about. And this guy is just like basically like a World of Warcraft vlogger. I think he's just recently gotten into talking about politics and current events. But I mean, he has 4 million subscribers on YouTube. And so, whoever the message comes from, I'm glad it's getting to a bigger number of people, because in the truth community, I don't really know anyone even that has over like 1 million subscribers, at least on, YouTube or Rumble, like individually. I know, Charlie, you have a lot on all your platforms combined, but, to see a YouTuber with 4 million subscribers now reporting on some of the most hardcore elements of these Epstein files, it's really breaking into the mainstream. And I mean, the Epstein files have completely taken over Twitter. I'm calling it Jerky Gate. I know Alex Jones has picked up on the same term and started calling it Jerky Gate because, it's in a way, it's a lot of the same information that we reported on and heard about all the way back in 2016 with Pizzagate. It's just a different entourage of people committing these crimes. And back then, we figured out, pizza was code for like children. Other code words were on this like FBI list. But what 𝕯𝖚𝖚𝖑𝖙 has figured out just last week is that like there's a new term on the block with these sickos, which is jerky and beef jerky.
Yeah.
And the way they're using it in these files, it really insinuates that this is like a food source for them. And, ever since I knew about this satanic stuff, I knew they were, killing children ritualistically. I imagined like maybe as part of these rituals, there was some flesh being eaten. I honestly, what's come out in the past week has even shocked me and disturbed me, who I thought I was jaded to all this stuff. But the fact that they're talking about this as literal like snack food, or like, all day, everyday food, it's just beyond disgusting. And that's why Twitter is really erupting over this, and it's become such a huge deal. And even I think on TikTok too. I mean, I can't monitor. I've been banned from TikTok, so I can't monitor it. But apparently, people are freaking out. Even Gen Zers are freaking out on TikTok to the same degree that people are freaking out on X. However, I'm dismayed to see. Just last night, I was with my father, who is a Fox News watcher, and I just saw how the mainstream media currently is doing this wall-to-wall coverage of the reporter's mother being kidnapped story. And it's just like, come on, like why is this even national news? I mean, I know she's a reporter and like celebrity and whatever, kidnaps can be an exciting story to make it the top story, but it's like, we have a much bigger problem on our hands. And to see the cover-up job that the mainstream media is doing right now about the Epstein is just absolutely disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm trying to raise
It
awareness of
is.
Jerkygate. And actually, even this relates. I have another little video here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Um, so another one of my diagrams is the cult of Baal diagram, which
Mm-hmm.
covers essentially everything I talked about. It answers the question of how is it possible that a religion that practices rituals of child murder and potentially cannibalism has survived 4,000 years undetected. And so let me share this one little video, which some of you may have seen, and maybe we won't play the whole thing, but I'll just play enough of it so you guys get the drift of it. And I hope audio will come through. I think it will because this is Zoom. Let's see.
Oh, that's Sean Atwood, yeah.
Actually, wait, let me see. I think I need to actually, when I share this, click. Let me try this one more time. Here we go. I think this should work better, actually. It's going to be a video of supposedly Epstein's niece, and now I'm not sure if this is like 100% confirmed, but I think whether she's really his niece or not, I think what she's saying is true. So have a look at this.
Cult of Baal,
Oh, yes.
Baal. My family masqueraded themselves as Jewish publicly, but behind closed doors, at Passover dinners, when I was drugged, would admit, we are Satanists. They told me that we belonged to the cult of Baal, Baal. They told me this with consistency while I was being abused. Now, what you can look up about the cult of Baal, information that is publicly available, is that it is thousands of years old. It is a Phoenician satanic fertility cult. And publicly, it's supposed to have been eradicated. But to my knowledge and my experience, it is not. This is what people perceive the Illuminati to be. It is a group of elites that practices forced.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the share for now. I think
Mm-hmm.
you get the drift. And
Yeah.
the reason I share that is, in reference to this diagram that I created this all the way back in 2018. This is the Cult of Baal map. When I created this, I believe I thought I was coining the term Cult of Baal myself because I was like, I hadn't necessarily heard of anyone that's claiming to be in the elite actually use that exact terminology
Mm-hmm.
until that video that you guys just saw that just came out. So, well, I guess that's a credit to like the accuracy of my research that like I'm creating names that like actually are used in like the deepest levels of the Illuminati. Not to blow my own horn, but just to say that this was pretty well researched and pretty accurate. And so this essentially, walked you through the stages. And this diagram is designed in the shape of a Sephiroth, which is like the magical symbol of Kabbalah that represents the microcosm versus the macrocosm, and your journey from the inner self to like cosmic awareness. However, I turned just the same symbol into a basic timeline and used the nodes to connect the most powerful groups within this secret cult. And so I'm never really sure how to explain this diagram, but it is a timeline from top to bottom. And so, from current day, let's say we have Epstein current day, like living in the USA. Like she said, the modern terminology for this group is the Illuminati. They're connected with the Masons and the Jesuits, Switzerland, and we're going back in time here. That the Knights Templars are considered widely to be the predecessors of the Masons. The Khazarian mafia is connected to all these groups and trying to infiltrate a lot of them. Some say that they control even the Masons. Going back to the Vatican, Roman Empire, Judea, like this cult has existed in pockets of all these different empires, as well as secret organizations. Going back to the pharaohs of Egypt, the kings of Babylon, and then the very end of the timeline here is the Canaanites. This is like the extremely fast summarization of the 4,000 years. And of course, all these different words on the lines in between these different groups essentially tell you how these are connected. Like, for example, the Templars are connected to the Vaticans because they carried out the Crusades and were sanctified by the Vaticans. And so, there's a lot on here. And then there's obviously a lot even more. All these bold words on the main diagram are repeated in the margins in bold. And then there's a lot more explanation and other bullet points related to them. And so, like I said, this goes all the way back to the Canaanites, the worship of Baal, human sacrifice, as well as the idea of cannibalism, which even the word cannibalism has the word Baal in it. Sometimes you can figure out some of these connections through the phonetics of how these words are constructed. But there is even physical evidence of these practices happening. Like they found these grave sites called taphets, I believe in and around Carthage and possibly around Syria and Palmyra, like cities where it was essentially the center of Baal worship. Where they found actual graves and remains of piles of children that they sacrificed, and all the images, how they depict them, loading essentially children into an oven of a huge bull-headed man sculpture, which they actually recreated for, I think it was the 1932 Olympics or something, this Jewish ceremony they did in Chicago. You've probably seen videos of it recently. But it's just crazy that such a heinous practice has survived, that it's still considered a necessity. I'm not sure what they're getting out of it. Actually, I thought 𝕯𝖚𝖚𝖘 made a pretty funny point when he was talking about the Jerky Gate information, saying that if it's really necessary to feed these demons children, why haven't the demons helped these people stay out of jail? But there is a question, are some of these people immortal? Is this actually helping them? Is there some kind of a health benefit? How they get this power? But there's obviously some kind of power countering it, because it seems like their whole system is falling apart now. So maybe it went too far. It's hard for me to understand how God could let it go as far as it went for 4,000 years, even if it was in secret. But I guess there's always a balance between the dark and the light. But it would really seem in a lot of ways like the time of this cult is up or running out rapidly. And so that's at least positive to see, because, most people can't even comprehend this level of evil.
It is. But then if you look right now, Dylan, the amount of people that we show the evidence to right now, they don't get it. They look the other way. This is why we're in the position we're in, because there are so many people in the world right now. When we say they're asleep, they're not just asleep. They've turned the alarm clock off and everything. I mean, there's no way to get through to these people. Carol makes an interesting point when he talked about Baal. You've got Baal moral which is where the Queen used to, her holiday home in Scotland was Balmoral. All of these things, it's all there in plain sight. When you know what you're looking for. But the one thing that I rest in the knowledge, and there's a lot of people that live in panic and fear, not my audience, but a lot of people out there. God will not be mocked. And all of this that's going on is to expose, whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's the British royal family, the Spanish royal family, the European royal families. I mean, in the UK, the government is beyond a comedy. And they're using the same playbook. So it's not like you can't work it out for yourself. It was like Keir Starmer the other day, while his case was going on with his 3 rent boys from Ukraine that he claimed were builders, and they were obviously sorting out his back door. That's all in plain sight. So suddenly when you get onto it, that you're pointing out what a twat he is, excuse my language, they come up with he's got a mistress. I mean, the oldest playbook in the world. If he's got a mistress, he'll be a ladyboy. He'll have something dangling between his legs because that's what he likes. And the younger, the better. But it's the same playbook. If you're caught with a little boy, oh no, he's got a mistress. Come on. And we were born at night, but it wasn't last night. They're using the same playbook over and over and over again, which makes our job easy. Because they've become lazy. So for everybody else, for me, it's pure entertainment, because I just look at it and I just remember every single day that God will not be mocked. And what's happening right now is exposing all these people. It's an absolute joke. The other thing I would also say, there's a couple of little things I want to say before we head off today. People hang on to the words of Donald Trump, which is foolish. Because Donald Trump is a bit like Andrew Tate. He plays with you, plays with your mind. And you hang on to stuff. The other day he said, America is going to control Venezuela. Everyone got upset. He didn't say the United States of America is going to control Venezuela. He said America. Now, if anybody is any good at geography, can somebody tell me where Venezuela is? Oh, yeah, South America. It's been under control of America since its formation. Part of America. There are 35 countries that are part of America. Some are North America, some are South America, some are Central America, and some are in the Caribbean. It's 35 countries that make up America. So this little thing is a wind-up that people are missing. The other thing that Dylan might be able to help me on, and this is a new one for me. In 1905, the Holy Bible, in 1905, so just over 100 years ago, the Holy Bible had a map in there that showed the Holy Land as Palestine. Then in 1913, the Schofield Bible came out and changed the Holy Land to Israel. Now, that's only just over 100 years ago. And we know that Israel was only created 70 odd years ago. But the original Bible, you go back to the one I've got up there, which is from Ethiopia. That predates the King James. Then I've also got the one from, I can't remember what year that one was from, 1611. Our Bible from 1611, that again shows Palestine as the Holy Land. So they've changed their whole thing about Israel in the last 100 years, with the ability to change the Bible to suit their narrative. In 1913, I was born in the 1900s, 1960. So it wasn't that long ago. Preparing the Balfour Declaration, Veronica, you're absolutely right, 1970. So it's all been done. So it's all a question of knowing what's really going on, being aware of the facts. What we've published today gives you hard facts. What Dylan has constructed together is not hairy-fairy, it's facts. It's the link between this, that, and the other. It's joining up the dots. And I know that my audience appreciate facts, because there's been a long time where I've told you what's going to happen, because I knew what was going to happen. And I had a conversation earlier with a neighbor, and they asked me about King Juan Carlos of Spain and the Spanish, and about Pedro Sanchez. And I said, well, I happen to know that they were arrested and executed 4 years ago. And he went, what? I said, yeah. I said, if you want to come with me, I'll show you the evidence. And I showed him the evidence. And he went, so who's playing them now? I said, I don't know who's playing them. Whether they're actors, whether they're clones, or whether it's AI, I don't know. Drew and I have had a bit of fun with AI, because we've been asking it questions and it says it's a conspiracy theory. So then what we do is we go, well, how can it be a conspiracy theory with this evidence? And it comes back, it's changed its mind.
You back it into a corner. It's hilarious.
It's absolutely hilarious. So AI is programmed, and Dylan, I've rebranded AI as allegedly Israel.
A lot of times it seems that way.
Doesn't it just?
Especially asking about conspiracy theories. AI seems to very much toe the line of government dogma, it would seem.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It's artificial, and it's not very intelligent. It's only as intelligent as the people who put the stuff in there. And based on the people that I know that have got the power to put it in there, they're not that intelligent. And I'm going to finish on one thing, because it made me laugh. I was talking to a Jew, and the Jew was telling me, Charlie, we don't work for money. We make money work for us. And I go, I know that's the Jewish philosophy, always has been. I said, but you can make money work for you when you print it. For those people out there who can't print it, it doesn't work quite the same way. So all of this, we're very good with money. Of course you're good with money, because you print it to start with. There are people out there that have to borrow it and have to work hard to get it. Unlike you, who print it and then use it to make money out of it, owning property and taking the income from people who don't have the ability to print it. That doesn't make you clever, that makes you corrupt. And this is all exposing who you are, what you are, and what you've been doing. So, Dylan,
that religion permits usury, whereas Christianity doesn't. And so they've become the money handlers.
Mm-hmm. I certainly do. Well, Dylan, thank you so much for today. I'd love to have you back on again, because we never have enough time to get through everything that you have there. But your work that you've done is very, very much appreciated, everything you've done. I had the pleasure of meeting Dylan at Trump Doral in Miami, and we had an amazing time there. And when we all come together like this, then we can find the answers very easily, because everyone has one little piece of the puzzle. And massive thank you, Dylan. Great to see you, buddy.
Thank you as well. Hope you have another expo soon. I'd love to see you
again.
Yeah,
well, we're hoping to have one in Texas in September.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll be there for sure.
Good, man. Cheers, Drew.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, Dylan.
All right, happy Valentine's Day.
These are the facts, not put out by mainstream media. If you want to know the truth, We put out the truth every single day, Monday to Friday. Saturdays and Sundays we spend with our families, as we should do. So if you want to know the truth, come to charlieward.com and see real news daily. And join the Insiders Club, which is live on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Global Gold for those that are based in America and Canada. And for those in the UK and Europe, we have Orvesta. Get yours now at charlies.gold.